Welcome back to another TerranScapes video. This video is kind of like a preview, really, but I've had a couple conversations with a couple people who are interested in some ruins, and it timed it pretty well as I've been kind of working on a couple pieces since I did those ruins for the Unplugged GT. I really liked how they came out. I liked the playability of them. They worked well during the GT, and I thought I would take those basic concepts and step them up to the next level and cast a few pieces that I would put up on the store. Now, as you know, if you've been following me, I've been crazy busy with a whole variety of things lately. So I didn't have them ready for the store for the recent opening, but I should have them painted up and photos of them ready for the next opening next month. But I thought I would give you a chance to take a look at the unfinished casts. And I get questions sometimes about the store. When you go and take a look, you'll see that some of the items are available, painted, flocked, finished as shown in the photos. I'm having trouble saying that. And they're also available unfinished. Unfinished is what you're going to see here. It's just the raw plastic cast, and I'll probably try to go back and do some web work over the next couple weeks and clean up the site a little bit and add some more explanatory sections where needed. But in any case, this gives you a chance to see an early preview of the ruins that will be showing up very soon, and also, a chance to provide some feedback. So let's take a look at them. So this is the first ruin I wanted to show you, and before we even talk about it as a piece, I just want to point out, people are going to notice, of course, that there's these little blue hints scattered about. This is the first cast out of the mold, and I actually made a mistake when I ordered my rubber for the mold making process. I got Mold Star 30, which is a blue rubber from Platinum Cure silicone from Smooth On, and I find it's actually much more tear prone than Mold Star 15. So if you're interested in a Platinum Cure silicone rubber, I recommend Mold Star 15 because it is about 10%. By statistics, they have properties, and its tear resistance is about 10% greater than the Mold Star 30. And I don't know, I put the wrong thing in the shopping cart. So I'm going to use it, but especially on the very first cast out of the mold, where there are undercuts, and in fact, some of this is actually under the sand that was used to add some of these details. So it pulls those out. Subsequent casts will be cleaner and cleaner until it's done pucking out the little bits that it wants to puck out. So in any case, that's on mold making there. But the ruins are based on Hurst Arts blocks. You probably have seen these. They look familiar to you. This is the Ruin Tower mold with a few other blocks added. And with a few other blocks added. This is designed to be playable for general war games where you have either large bases or large movement trays. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to add in details that are raised, scattered about, that would support a large base on it without a lot of steep tipping. Now, obviously, there are some areas where it's not going to be available for model placement, but particularly with Warhammer Fantasy, if you moved a large tray onto this, and I don't have, well, wait a minute, here we go. Pretend this is a movement tray. You can rest the movement tray on it in a variety of spots, and it's going to be relatively stable, particularly if your miniatures are not magnetized. If your miniatures are not magnetized, you should start magnetizing them, because when you play at a GT and your opponent's miniatures are falling all over the place, it's annoying. So that's a little tip there. But in any case, you can place your movement tray on here relatively level in most of the places in the ruins, and that's going to make it more playable. Now, a potential customer, saw my ruins and requested that if I develop them, that they accommodate War Machine. So this is War Machine jack here, heavy jack, and this will sit most places in the ruins relatively stably. Whoops, not quite every spot. but for most spots, he's going to be able to stand up. So this is going to be relatively playable for War Machine as well. And the person requested that it be able to accommodate 120 millimeter base. I'm assuming this is the Colossus base size, their newest releases from Privateer Press. So what I did is, I don't have one of those bases, so I cut one out. It's a big base. But this gives you an idea of how it's going to sit on this model. On this terrain feature. It's going to sit relatively flat, much like a Warhammer model. Now, there may be a couple places, depending on its center of gravity. Some models, that are quite tall and have a lot of mass up top may be a little tippy on a particular spot like this. But, in that case, the placing of a simple die really quickly under that spot would fix it, and that's usually how we in the Warhammer world handle that. So I think this is going to be very playable for these game systems, and of course, will work for skirmish games like Lord of the Rings, etc. Oh, geez, metal minis. I don't want to chip it. And take a quick close-up of some of the details. So what I tried to do is, add in some rubbled, ruined areas. I did not add any real rubble to the tops of the walls, as I figure if it's particularly old, and that was kind of my thinking with this, something that's been around for a long time, that, there isn't going to be a lot of stuff up here. It's going to blow off, fall off over time. So I really left that relatively clean. But of course, when if you're interested in purchasing this and finishing it, you'll be able to finish it in whatever manner you want, and a little addition of some gravel or something like that would be quick to add. This is a single piece cast, in resin, so this is going to be really, really strong, and most importantly, chip resistant. I've been really moving away from plasters for casting, as the chipping issue is just getting more and more annoying as I go on in the years making terrain, so these are going to all be cast pretty much just as you see. The second one I did is much larger. This is, meant to be a bit more grand, but my idea was to have them be compatible visually. Pan back a little bit here so you can see. So that way, if you wanted to get both and you could put them on the table, right, you have a little bit of a uniformity between the two. And again, I've tried to, with this piece, take into account large movement trays and make them relatively stable. I've got a couple short crumbled pillars in here that are going to add some footing for a large base. And again, in the rare instance where you need to place it somewhere where it's not going to be stable, then, a single, 12 millimeter die is probably going to fix it. So that's designed for large models, larger play. Here it is with the War Machine Jack in here. War Machine Jack, of course, will fit, in some of these areas as well, but, restricted to some spots, and will be still relatively stable on most spots. Whoops, metal models. All right, well, we might need to stick a die under him. It's going to be the rare instance, though. Most spots are going to be pretty stable for these kinds of models. Again, I've finished it in, a very similar way. So I have some, rubble against the walls, but I left the tops of the walls relatively clean. And I really put a little extra effort into doing some detailed chipping of the tops of the walls. Chipping plaster is sort of like carving marble. You have to be careful, and you have to use angled strokes to get some of that, delicate chipping out of certain spots. So I really tried to add a lot more detail to the tops of the walls than I have in the past, and chip them at a slightly smaller scale so that it would look a little bit more appropriate than just, say, having this block, like right here, just cleaved off with a big flat face. That's just not going to look right to scale. So I went in and put in some really delicate chips along the tops of these, and of course went in and put in quite a bit of variety of damage in amongst the floors, some cracks, blocks that are sunken, etc. So, etc. I have a problem with that word. So anyway, that gives you a little preview of one of the largest of the ruins, and I have a couple more ideas. I might do one or two more of these in a fieldstone technique, but I just don't have the time this month to work on that, so that'll be something a little bit later in the year. But these are going to paint up really well. I think they're going to look fantastic painted, and it gives you the opportunity, you know, with what I did is I really put in a slightly larger base around them so that you have room to add some decorative elements, you know, vegetation, vines coming up it. You know, you can finish these however you want. This is based on about 1/8 of an inch thick plastic here at the edges, and if you felt like that base was too large, it wouldn't take you much with a knife to really trim it back down if you wanted to. But I personally love to add extra elements amongst these areas. You could even mount a few rocks, things like that, and then you've got the space to you know, dress it up however you want, should you want to buy an unpainted version, the unfinished version, and do it yourself. So anyway, that gives you a little bit of a look at some of the new pieces that will be showing up on the site within the next, you know, month, really. Of course, I have to do quite a bit of work on that cliff project next week and learning my Arduino code programming. So I'm really kind of just piecemealing a little work on these as I go along each week. And so once I get them painted up, however, of course, I'll come back and show you how I would like to finish these pieces, give them sort of my personal touch to them, and then put them up on the store, and they'll be available for sale next month. So if you have any questions or comments on these pieces, please feel free to leave them down below. And of course, you know, one of my last comments is to say that, you know, with this person contacting me and really giving me some specifics about how he would like to see these pieces interact in the game specifically that he's playing, in this case War Machine, or Hordes, really, they're very similar. But it really helps me to develop pieces that are going to fit multiple gaming systems. You know, as I'm already in a niche market, it's nice to have pieces that can apply to, you know, Warhammer, 40K, War Machine, and I think a piece like this can fit in any one of those game systems, but it was really helpful to think about that 120mm base and make sure that it can reasonably accommodate that, but still, you know, allow me to provide some detail in the interior. They're going to dress up the piece and make it look a little bit more realistic. So anytime you're interested in a new piece, something that you'd might like to see me develop, you know, in the subsequent months, don't be afraid to mention, you know, can you make sure it can accommodate, you know, blah blah blah, and that gives me a better sense of where to take those kinds of projects. So anyway, keep an eye on the channel. I'll be back a little bit later on, maybe with a question and answer segment, and of course next week with some more updates on the projects that are ongoing. So thank you once again for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.